County is set to launch one of the largest guaranteed income programs in the country, thanks to a motion that you authored along with Supervisor Sheila Kuehl.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this program and what you hope to achieve.
So this is not a new concept. It's a concept that Dr. King included in his anti-poverty campaign of 55, 60 years ago. But it was piloted here in California by former Mayor Michael Tubbs of Stockton, and the research has just been astounding. You know, entitlement programs, unfortunately, for so many years have been punitive. We have criminalized poverty. The hoops we ask people to jump through to get bare minimum are really just personally offensive. And I've talked to women on CalWORKs when I was at Crystal Stairs and as a legislator, the asset test, the questions we ask people to justify giving them government support extend beyond anything you can imagine.
Like what?
There was a program in CalWORKs that I'm very proud that I ended as a legislator called Maximum Family Grant. It was based on this theory that women would have babies to stay on welfare. Because then, as your family unit grew, your cash grant would grow. Now, let me be clear. The increase in your cash grant was about $100 a month. The average CalWORKs grant then in California was $550 a month. And so my argument was, I don't know a woman, and I don't think she's been born, that would have a baby for an additional $100 a month. Right? But it was this... It was based on this racist, sexist trope of the welfare queen. And I have said and will say again, there are no queens in welfare. You can't be a queen on $550 a month raising your two children.
That's pretty profound.
Right? Yeah. And so it was a 20-year policy brought forward by Republicans. And the research in states across this country showed that it was the #1 contributor to the increase in child poverty. And California has the highest child poverty rate in the nation. And so in order to not be limited by the maximum family grant, in statute, there were exceptions. If you could prove that your birth control failed, social work would have to ask you questions like...
You'd have to prove this.
The social work would ask you questions. Okay, you're pregnant. You're already on CalWORKs. You're pregnant. Now, we're not going to expand your family grant unless you can answer these questions. What kind of birth control were you on? And in statute, it listed birth control methods that, you know, if they failed, would be accepted. Who does that?
That's so insulting and disrespectful.
Completely insulting. Nowhere else in a California code would anyone be asked such personal questions. And we showed that the average CalWORKs family size was the same as the average family size of every other socioeconomic group. The guaranteed basic income is going to be a game changer. We are giving you dollars, no strings attached. So if you choose to sign your child up for Little League Baseball, those are learning opportunities. If you choose to create a savings account, start a micro business, save to buy a home. You know what? Take a family vacation to the San Diego Zoo. I'm fine with that because as a parent, I understand that those are bonding opportunities. Those are important experiences that every child, in my humble opinion, should be entitled to. When we look at the research that came out of Stockton and Compton, and we hear from women who say, it just gave me room to breathe. It allowed me to quit the second swing shift job so I could be home with my children in the evenings and do homework help. Those are basic, core, foundational things that everyone should be entitled to and should be afforded to every family.
Recent redistricting has brought new cities and communities into the 2nd District. What has been the community response, and how is your office handling the changing dynamics of the district?
I am very constituent services oriented. I can thank my first and forever boss, former state senator, former congresswoman, former ambassador Diane Watson. Constituent services is why we're here. And I would tease my Sacramento staff when I was in the legislature. I said, I know you all think this policy work we do up here is exciting and cutting edge and sexy, but constituent services is what gets elected officials reelected. Because people remember, I called their office, I needed help, no response. So I believe fundamentally in that work. And so my team has pivoted, and we are spanning out into the new communities, the beach communities, the airport, Marina Del Rey that I now represent, bringing forward that same constituent services orientation. When I got elected last year and began to serve in the middle of COVID, we started a program where I asked all the city councils that I represented if they'd allow me to come on to their Zoom city council meetings and just say hello. So we've met with all those city councils and school districts. And so we've met with the mayors of all of the new cities and are going to incorporate that kind of process in just to introduce myself and, more importantly, from my humble opinion, make sure they know members of Team Mitchell who are assigned to those geographic areas so they understand that they have a direct conduit to me in my office.
You recently launched the 2nd District Racial Justice Learning Exchange, which is a platform for community leaders to have open dialogues about systemic racism, implicit bias, and other issues. What impact do you hope to make with this exchange?
That's a great question, and I don't have a particular expectation. The process, the journey will be the experience. You know, James Baldwin said, I'm going to read it because I want to get it right. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. And so that's the theory that we're approaching, that if we're not going to talk about it, come together with multiple groups of people to talk about multiple layers of implicit bias. It's not just black-white. It's black-brown. It's Asian brown. We have to talk about the cross-cutting issues that we all live and experience and are either perpetrators of or recipients of every day. And so I'm proud to have the opportunity to have community leaders, the various commissioners I have the privilege of appointing to serve on about 300 county boards and commissions, and my own team to have a space and an opportunity to raise a safe space and opportunity with facilitators to give us a guided opportunity to have these very difficult, life-altering conversations, not at one workshop you go to and you're woke, but on an ongoing basis where we will build community, build trust, and begin to pull back our own onion layers. We all have implicit bias. I've taken those online tests. One time I took a test, I didn't like the results. I was shaking the computer. Let me take this test again, right? And so all of us have the opportunity, if we want to be true to ourselves, to pull these onion layers back. And that's what we hope this initiative will allow for 2nd District residents to join us in this really important discussion and journey.
Well, that is definitely a part of the discussion that is going on nationally about whether to teach critical race theory in schools. But I think many people are arguing that you can't deal with it unless you acknowledge it, and you can't change it unless you discuss it, right?
I think that's what James Baldwin meant. And as Maya Angelou says, when you know better, you do better. And so I live by that principle. With new information, I have a responsibility to have my outlook and my view of the world informed by new information. So I'm looking forward to the experience.
My conversation with Supervisor Holly Mitchell continues after this break. We'll be right back.